Welcome back to Saturday Social, where we are joined by Lias and Neve, and it's time for Neve now to be in the hot seat for her item. Now, we had a thought about this show, didn't we? There's a lot of quality in the Premier League. Neve's on the show. She's a bit of a football expert, as we know, friend of the show, and we thought it'd be a good time to pick every club's most important player. Now, I must stress, this is not necessarily the best player. This is like if a player's to get injured and out of the team, who is the most important person for each Premier League club's team? We're going to go in alphabetical order, starting with Arsenal. And we're going to get Lias's picks as we go along. Who have you gone for?
I've gone for Saka. And I think a big sort of decider for me in that was when he came on against City at half-time. And I just think they look way more threatening. The creation's a lot better, which is something that I think is their key thing to go up a new level. And if they're going to get the most out of Gyökeres, he needs to play.
I think this is a really interesting one, because obviously Bukayo Saka is probably the best player, the most attacking, threatening attacker. But, is there an argument that a Gabriel, if you take him out, I understand Hincapié can play there and Calafiori can play there, but that was a devastating miss when Gabriel was out towards the back end of last season for that defensive structure.
Was it as
but they've now got Madueke.
Have they got more cover now, though?
I was going to say, was it not? Because I felt like Saka leaving. I
agree, but Madueke's there now. I think he's looked electric at the start of the season.
I definitely agree. I think last season I would have definitely said Saka. Also because of how right side dominant Arsenal are, it almost feels like all their attacks are just shoehorned down the right. Get the ball to Saka as quickly as possible and let him come up with something. I definitely agree Madueke has kind of softened that. I think you can make an argument for Declan Rice though as well too, in terms of how compact that midfield is, in terms of the ball winning in there. I feel like if you take Declan Rice out of that midfield, Arsenal, for me, all of a sudden look a lot less intimidating in the centre of the park. But I don't mind the Saka shot whatsoever.
Yeah, and I've also put forward the argument that all those players are super important, but they're all playing their role within a team that Arteta has set, and they're doing it brilliantly. Whereas if you think about the one who's a real individual who can go against the grain and do something a bit different to help them.
Which is why I thought the Eze signing was so big, by the way, because then you kind of get another one like that.
I think you make a great point about that Man City. When he comes on, the difference, even though Madueke has had a stunning start to see, just the effectiveness of
it's a different level.
It's just different level.
I think a lot of Arsenal fans would agree with that. Let's go to Villa next.
Yes, Boubacar Kamara.
So
and I pondered over sort of him, Tielemans, and I went with him because I think currently Villa are in a critical period where the players just seem to be just losing the ball all the time. There's a bit of a sluggishness. Whereas I feel like someone like Kamara is going to help just get them out of that and see them through it. When he gets the ball sort of from the two centre-backs, he'll do the sensible option. There was an incident against Bologna where McGinn loses the ball in his own box, but Kamara's there, so it's okay, and then he finds the right pass. And he's sort of here, there and everywhere. So I think he'll be useful for them whilst they're going through a rough patch.
Okay.
Yeah, Boubacar Kamara?
I think he's one of the most criminally underrated players in the Premier League. I want to see such a fan of him.
I think it's interesting, isn't it? What do you put the start of the season at Villa down to? Because obviously there's a lot of noise, isn't there, about Emery. Obviously Monchi's just left as well. The recruitment, PSR,
financial stuff, yeah.
On the field, it just hasn't looked right.
I think it's looked a little stale, to be honest. I kind of predicted Villa would struggle a little bit going into the start of the season. I couldn't have ever imagined 0 Premier League goals in their first 5 games, or I think they scored one now. I think the inability to really spend big this window as well as losing guys who were so big for them on loan last year, has almost left the squad. I don't really feel like they've improved all that much in terms of top end quality. I feel like it's kind of the same team as last season, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Interesting. Right, Bournemouth.
Yes, Antoine Semenyo, because I think when you watch Bournemouth, what I really like about them, and this is testament to Iraola, is that they play so well as a whole unit and covering for each other. But if you were to pick out the individual that makes things happen,
I feel like without being disrespectful to other players, but this is a bit of a tapping, isn't it? Like the level and the ceiling that this player's got, and the clubs that are going to be linked with him. I mean, I think it's only Erling Haaland that's got more goal involvements this season than Semenyo.
I just feel like he's their match winner at this point. They have a lot of really good midfielders as well too, but I think in terms of importance, this guy wins games.
Let's get him up.
I'd agree. What a player.
Brentford, another pretty obvious one. Player of the year. Go down, Scott.
So talented, and if Brentford are to struggle, his talent and creativity will massively help them.
Got 10 assists last season, Ramsgaard.
Let's get him up.
I think again, in terms
fluid on the ball as well.
In terms of underrated, like you're talking about Kamara, I think he's one that's definitely gone under the radar for a few years now. Now a lot of people are talking about him. There we go.
Yes, gone for Minter for Brighton, and it's more, I think, this season as well, looking at his sort of drive and sharpness. I just think that seems to be a cut above at the moment, and I think him and Mitoma, they're sort of what they can create. If they could just finish their chances a little bit more, we'd see even more how good they are. But yeah, I think he just gives you a bit of everything.
I was going to shout Mitoma right as well. Who would you have picked for Brighton? Have you got Believer, Mitoma, Minter?
I really like Believer. I feel like he struggled a little bit at the start of the season. Maybe the United interest turned his head. We'll be back.
Gets it back to United.
I think Minta this season, man.
Crazy.
I look at him. I feel like he's the next one up in terms of these. I don't know if I'm calling them mid-table. You know, the clubs around that part of the table. I feel like when you look at who's kind of looks ready to make the next step up, I feel like in a season's time, he's going to have a lot of big fish kind of swimming around him because he's got incredible just directness to him. Man, seriously.
I want to shout out Jean-Paul Van Heck as well.
Yeah.
I feel like never puts a foot wrong. You know, at centre back for his age, it's just like plays every game. Unbelievable on the ball. Really solid defender.
Sure,
I think in terms of the structure of how Brighton play as well, he's vital to that team. There's a reason he wins Player of the Season.
I think it'll be interesting to see which players, because there's a few players that are good, which players throughout the season will commit fully to Brighton, which players will it look like their minds are elsewhere at other clubs. And I think from what I've seen of Minta, it doesn't, even though you've suggested there could be movement, he looks like he's very much happy to really give it everything.
I think with Brighton, we've got to shout out the recruitment as well, because another player that I think was about 30 million mark.
They got him. They poached him off Newcastle.
Yeah, from Newcastle. So again, unbelievable.
Look at that window, by the way. Elliot Anderson and Minta leaving Newcastle that summer. You look at where they are in their career at the moment. That looks like a bit of a howler, man. I mean, they obviously had
to do that. Eddie Howe didn't want to lose.
Yeah, there was
but it's
interesting points from Eddie Howe saying I don't think he wanted to lose.
Of all players to lose, you look at how they're playing right now. Oh my God.
I don't think they wanted to lose.
Burnley.
Yeah, I wanted to pick somebody from sort of the defensive line. Look, I think Dubrovka's been a fantastic signing. Kyle Walker's been a great signing. I think Maxime Esteve, though, I like the fact that he's sort of directing everyone and he's sort of at the heart of that. So that's why I picked him.
Part of the best defence in England last season. 30 clean sheets.
Yeah, let's get him up.
I think with Spurs in the summer.
Go to Chelsea. And I think this is a great debate at Chelsea.
There's a good debate here because I think a lot of people may say Cole Palmer. You've gone Caicedo, which I also think some people agree with. Why Caicedo over Palmer for you, Niamh?
I think it's because, you know, Cole Palmer is clearly the most talented and best creator, but I still think Chelsea can get goals without Cole Palmer. Whereas I think Caicedo's sort of facilitation for everyone around him, I think they would struggle to replicate that if Caicedo wasn't available. And I think if maybe there was a bit more consistency of performance around Caicedo and what he's facilitating was better, we'd appreciate him even more. And I also think that defensively, that's an area where Chelsea can sometimes struggle and then maybe don't go for it. And I think if you took him away, it could be catastrophic.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, actually, about taking away, because we don't know from last season. He was the only player that played every single Premier League match for Chelsea, which obviously had injury problems. It shows how much they rotate. But for you, because I think this is a good debate, who would you have as the most important player at Chelsea?
I think I would agree with Caicedo. I think the thing with Cole Palmer, right, is that I think he provides an element of genius, of X factor, of match winning that no one on Chelsea, like individual in that is, like he can almost win you games on his own in a way that I don't think anyone else on Chelsea really can. So it almost feels like for Chelsea to really reach their ceiling, they need Cole Palmer to be incredible. But for Chelsea to even be above their floor, Moises Caicedo is the most important player. Like the level of consistency this guy has, I can't remember many bad games he's played over the last season. The first season, I think people really kind of questioned him at the beginning, and he grew and grew as that season went on. And last year, I thought the guy was near flawless.
Something Enzo Maresca said himself that I'd noticed too is on the transition defensively, Chelsea massively struggled, so they wanted to actively avoid that. That seemed very important to him. And Caicedo is how they do that because he can put those fires out before they turn into counter-attack.
Another thing with him as well too is that you look at the amount of midfield partners he's had throughout the last season at Chelsea. He's playing with Reece James next to him, Enzo, Andre Santos as of late. He's the consistent factor in there.
Yeah, good debate though. And Chelsea fans, let us know what you think of that. Caicedo or Palmer, who's most important two top players? Let us know what you think.
Palace, you've gone for Mark Gahey.
Yeah, because I just think that back three in general, with Lacroix and Richards, will win Palace points, and he's the captain, he's sort of the main dude. And then not just that, but also on the ball, there's been a few games where I've watched him from deep. He'll put the ball into dangerous areas, into the box. I think he's got a great diagonal pass.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Palace fans agree with you. You'll go down in history, lift the FA Cup, didn't he, as captain?
I've got no one shot, though. Yeah, most important, I don't know. Obviously, they play the back three, and he is vital. And obviously, the decision not to move in the summer was massive in keeping Ole Glasner at the club. But JP Mateta up top, you look at that number 9 role and how Glasner plays with that number 9. If you take him out of the team, his goal scoring record under Glasner is absolutely outrageous. You know, Eddie Nketiah is a very different style of 9, has had a lot of injury problems. Does that affect the team more than if you took one of the back three out and replaced it with a different centre back?
With all due respect to the back three centre backs, I do feel like it is almost a little interchangeable. I was of the opinion that if Crystal Palace were to sell Mark Gahey, as long as they can get a somewhat competent replacement, I felt like they were going to be okay. I think Mateta does so much dog work up front in terms of just rescuing loose balls and turning them into good ones. I actually think Munoz on the right as well too is massive for how Palace attack.
Great.
It almost feels like every single Palace goal comes from that long ball out wide to Munoz, or even Mateta laying it off to Munoz. Munoz putting a ball across the box and someone scoring.
I think we've got if you were talking about Palace, we've got to shout out Adam Wharton as well. I mean, who's so. I was at the FA Cup semi, the FA Cup final, the Community Shield final. Everything goes to him. The entire way that they play is through Wharton. I think the ceiling that he's got is absolutely ridiculous. Surely he's someone that we have to discuss here.
I'll just go throw this in the bin.
Nah, stick it up. Stick it up. Back yourself.
You've made some good arguments, actually.
Back yourself. Everton.
Yes.
This is a bit of a rogue one, I think.
Maybe, yeah. Because remember, it's not necessarily best, but most important. And I think, like, last season, I'd have sort of ummed between Pickford and Njai.
Yeah.
This season, I still think Pickford could be a good shout, but I think Everton are a better team. And with Njai, I think that now with the signings of Grealish as well and Diblin, I think that they'll be able to, and Tiano Barry, they'll be able to create more. So I'm thinking, okay, where's what he can bring to the team that if they don't have him and they might not have, is when they're actually breaking out and attacking, it doesn't have to be perfect anymore, because his touch on it can be quite a dodgy pass to him, and his touch is brilliant. He brings it down fantastically, and then also I just think his passing is immense. I think his passing is so good.
I'm glad you mentioned Pickford as well, because when we saw the list, we're like, for me, when you're talking most important, if you take Pickford out of that Everton team, Grealish as well. There's a few other names we've got to shout.
I'm a huge fan of.
I am as well, actually.
Yeah, Everton, they're building a nice team.
There's a signature run I expect. I think he is going to elevate the players around him, all the new signings especially. I think Gisborough Hall's actually going to elevate those. And I think there's a signature run that he's going to do with Grealish on that left-hand side. When the right centre-back for the opposition sort of
he's done it a couple of times already, hasn't he?
He'll start to move into that space.
Left-footed strike.
I agree with what about Njai being underrated as well.
Okay,
so beautiful to watch.
Yeah, this is a tap-in for me.
Easy one for you?
Yeah, for me, it's one of the easiest ones. I think I saw a tweet the other day. Marco Silva, if he had the selection of the world's 11, I think he'd select 10 Real Madrid players, and Alex won't be.
All right, let's get away with it. We'll go to
I loved what
Leeds.
he did at Craven Cottage with Josh King, by the way, just going straight over to him.
Yeah.
Really,
Leeds.
really nice. Tanaka.
Yeah, baller.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's interesting because a few Leeds fans might have said Stack at the start of this season has been pretty outrageous.
Yeah, but I think that because Tanaka's been injured, he's sort of easing back into it. He's gone for Longstaff a couple of times. And I actually just look at it and think, Stack is a really good point. I think it's either of those two, because it's that midfield where it's going to be so important for Leeds. But just don't let that Wolves game deceive you. The big issue for Leeds is creating and scoring. When he comes into the team, they've just got that extra bit of premium quality in midfield, and they'll be able to create a little bit more, and that could be the difference for them.
Yeah, Leeds is player of the season as well.
Pop him up, and we'll go to Liverpool.
We'll go to Van Dijk. Sorry.
Whoa!
I revealed it. Sorry. See this. A 3-second spoiler. Sorry. Liverpool, Van Dijk.
Yeah, just because it's going to be such a potentially difficult transitional sort of defensive season for what is an almost perfect Liverpool team. So he's going to have quite a lot to do to help guide them through the season, I think.
It probably changed, because I think last season it would have definitely been Salah, because of almost he was responsible for 70% of Liverpool's goals in the Premier League at one point. But I do think, the amount of attacking reinforcement they brought in, combined with now it almost feels like they're a little more vulnerable in transition because of how they're trying to... I look at this guy again, I'm going to say, it's almost like he's keeping everybody together at times.
I think the depth at Liverpool at centre-half as well, with the news of Giovanni Leone this week being out for a year with his snapped ACL, such sad news, of course. The depth there now is Van Dijk, Canate, who's got injury problems, and Joe Gomez.
And guiding Kirkes through the season as well. It's going to be, it's a big season for Kirkes.
He's got to stay fit, Van Dijk.
I think it's huge.
I think, honestly, the start to the season he's had right now, it's one of the best I've seen from him. He started it unbelievably, man.
Okay, Manchester City.
Yep.
Sticking with the obvious name here.
Rodri, yeah, I think so. I think, again, it's sort of looking at a team that is so good, but what is a potential weakness? And I do think that breaking out against Man City, this sort of team that injects so much fear, has suddenly got a vulnerability that people are attacking.
They look human.
But if Rodri's fully fit and at his best, it will start to eliminate that, and they could go back to being a bit more dominant and putting that fear back into opposition.
We've got to talk about Haaland as well when we're talking about Man City.
Yeah.
I mean, the start that he's had, and obviously the comparison with Haaland with his previous seasons, it's just the numbers he's putting up are absolutely
I think,
phenomenal.
funnily enough, though, isn't it like his worst start to a Premier League season? Like, it tells you just the way he started the last few. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I think as well, too, looking how City almost are starting to become a bit more transition-based, I feel like if anyone benefits off that, it is him. But I think with Rodri, I think there's an argument to make that is anyone more important to their team than Rodri is for Manchester City? Because it almost feels like when he's not there, the midfield feels a little lightweight. You're looking at Bernardo Reinders. Guy's a grown man in there. He really almost like makes.
This is the one example where he got genuine evidence of how important are they to the team comparatively to last season, where he spent an entire campaign out injured.
Already played more games this season, I believe, than he did the whole of last season.
United.
Yes.
Maybe I was wrong, actually. This might be the most easy one to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Just some of the stuff that Bruno can do, he's the only one that can do it. So it would be nice to see him be a little bit further up the pitch and allowed to do all the things that he's so good at. If he can get in those positions and create that for United, then we might see even more from the new signings that United have brought in as well.
He's had 115 Premier League goal involvements since joining. Only Salah and Son have had more in that time, which is incredible when you think of the era that obviously Man United, what they're going through, like the numbers he's putting up.
It's spectacular, and I think also you look at the amount of managers he's played under, the amount of different roles he's played under, all of them. But I think the biggest thing to almost like describe his importance to United, if you watch Man United play, just look at when Dorgu gets the ball or when, I don't know, De Ligt or something. The first thought they have is, where is Bruno Fernandes on the pitch? And he's always within 5 yards of it. And they will literally play a 5-yard pass to him so that he can play the Hollywood pass instead of just doing it themselves. They rely on him almost like a technical crutch at times.
OK, so if we've said that Rodri and Bruno were quite easy ones for the Manchester clubs, for me, it feels like Newcastle is not an easy one. There's an array of players you could have picked. Was this a more difficult one for you?
Not for me, but that's because I'm a huge fan of this player.
Okay.
But I do understand that there are lots of players that you could pick. But I've gone with Tonali. But I'm just going to say, I think Tonali is in the top bracket of midfielder. He's not in the bracket below in the Premier League.
Okay.
I think he's hugely underrated.
Do you?
Yeah, 100%. He's in the same bracket as your sort of Caicedo's.
You reckon?
Yeah, 100%.
I think he's really good.
And I think it's just because he's got absolutely everything. So he suits Newcastle in that he's got that aggression and the tenacity and gets stuck in. But then also, by the way, he is rapid. He is so
He's a
fast.
crazy athlete.
And a lot of the time as well, like he's always thinking forward. He'd have been a great player like 15 years ago. He's always thinking forward, pass forward, and then he just runs. Pass and go, pass and go. He's everywhere. In the space of 5 minutes, if you told me that he'd scored at the back post, he'd scored a 30-yard screamer, he'd done an off-the-line clearance in his own goal, then he did a sprint that covered the entirety of the pitch, and then he was in the concourse getting a pie, I'd believe you, because he's just everywhere. But he's also got so much technical ability as well. Like, he turns so quickly. His passing is unbelievable. I think he's brilliant.
There we go.
Clip that, by the way.
That
was a great Tonali.
I was going to shout out Bruno Guimaraes, but then after that, I was like, no, we'll go with
I think I'll
Tonali.
probably put him the tier below.
Really?
Yeah, I think just below Caicedo, Rodri.
What's he missing then that they've got?
You know what? It's probably a case of I need to maybe see it at like because Caicedo as well too. It's not like he's playing for Manchester City. Maybe it is. Maybe I just need to see Tonali more in like the biggest games and really kind of you watch games like, wow, Tonali dominated that game. Maybe I don't see that enough.
Let's go to Forest then. Another one of the best midfielders in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, so
Criminally underrated player.
Man of the match in his first 2 England appearances as well.
Elliot Anderson.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's sort of similar to Tonali, where he's got like a little bit of everything, which is really nice. And you can see he's getting more and more confident in his on-the-ball abilities. Like, he's trying passes that are just exceptional as well. And yeah, his movement to help his defenders, but then his movement attacking-wise, it's brilliant.
Okay, let's get
on the ball all the time as well. 534 touches in the Premier League this season, 72 more than any other player. Loves being on the ball. So Elliot Anderson takes it for Forest. Let's move on to Sunderland.
Granit Xhaka?
Yeah, gone with Xhaka. I don't know. I think that spine of Mukiele, Xhaka, Isidore is going to be key. But yeah, I think Xhaka's sort of leadership and being able to set the tone for Sunderland in games is
I think when you speak to Sunderland fans as well, when they realised that Xhaka was a possibility coming from Leverkusen, the excitement levels they had to be able to attract a player like that.
Yeah.
Tottenham.
Yes.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think you could have gone Van de Ven or Romero there.
I would have gone Romero.
But for me, it has to be one of those two because a lot of people talk about the attacking quality Spurs have, and we have got depth. But I think that's the key thing here. We're talking about the most important player. You've seen Maddison's injured, Kulusevski's injured. We've now got, with the likes of Javi Siemens and other players that can step into those roles. I think the success of Tottenham's season this season for me is so critical on the fitness of Van de Ven and Romero because of the lack of depth that we do have in this situation.
They complement each other so well. I think where I'm at Van de Ven over Romero is, I think if you had to say which one, they complement each other, but which one allows the other one to do what they need to do more, I actually think Van de Ven allows a level of braveness and allows Romero to...
But if I were to ask you this, which would you rather see, Romero and another centre-back, or Van de Ven? Let's say Romero and Dragusin, or Van de Ven and Dragusin. Who would you rather see? I think Romero is almost like more... out of the two, can kind of, hide the other's weaknesses a little more, in my opinion, because of his leadership and because as well to his technical ability. I feel Romero is so underrated.
Okay, let's get him up.
Before we do West Ham, a bit of breaking news to bring you. Graham Potter has been sacked as head coach of West Ham, we've just been told. So what are your thoughts? Greg, you touching my knee?
You didn't see them yet.
A bit of breaking
that's
news.
That's big. I mean, probably to be expected. Maybe the memes were the last straw, but...
I was going to say, all our faces going to be Graham Potter.
Yeah. I think there's a tap in though. Nuno Espirito Santo to West Ham, maybe. I think he can keep them up. I think at the moment, West Ham, since he came in, it's been a bit of a sinking stone. So
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because they want to play a certain way, West Ham fans, don't they? And is that Nuno.
But the board don't know what way they want to play, because you look at the last few managers, it's gone from such extreme to extreme to extreme. I'm sure the next manager as well too will be a complete 180 from Graham Potter.
Do you think it's the right decision though?
100%.
I think they needed to make the decision, but then I also don't know how will they make the right decision next. Do you know, that's the big thing.
Is the timing a bit bizarre on a weekend? You know, they're playing
Monday night,
on Monday, but they've had the whole week.
Very bizarre.
We were watching Graham Potter's press conference yesterday, weren't we? So it feels like to do it on a weekend of a game week. Is that a bit odd to you?
It might have been a case as well too. Maybe the whole week they've been looking for a replacement and they finally got it done. Maybe they just didn't want to fire him until they got that replacement in. But yeah, I do agree. 2 days before your game is a bit bizarre.
Okay, so Potter's out, but who is in for West Ham?
Nice.
I think this is quite an easy one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Jared Bowen. Just he's, as an individual, can make things happen even when West Ham aren't playing that great.
Finally, Wolves. We'll spend a little bit of time on this because I think some of us might have felt you'd gone with Strand last and you haven't. So.
Yeah, I've gone for Ladislav Krejci, and I might be like jumping the gun a bit too soon, but from what I've seen already of him, he could end up being that player where, as things get difficult for Wolves throughout the season, they're almost like, I wish we had a version of him in every third of the pitch. And I think because I've seen him play in midfield, and he's brilliant in midfield. He's a really good quality footballer, but then he's moved into the defensive position as well at centre back, and he was unbelievable there too. He just seems, when I watch Wolves anyway, he just seems a cut above, and he's got a level of urgency that I think perhaps other players haven't had. I think him and Rodrigo Gomez could end up being the difference just because they're actually trying to get to places and sort of move on the pitch and be available for the teammates. But he looks good. He looks like the real deal.
Okay, let's get him up, and then we can see confirmation of Neve's selection for the most important player, not necessarily the best, but the most important player for every single Premier League club. Let us know what you thought about that in the comments below and on X. Also, let us know what you thought about the Graham